Let's assume for a moment that you've recorded a really long video clip. Maybe you put your camera on a tripod at a beach, or you were recording your cousin Donnie's wedding, and all you really want is those 2 minutes of vows being spoken, or that one snippet where the swarm of seagulls was flying by the camera. Now, in the course materials, the probably longest clip is this corridor walk MP4. Let's just zoom out of our timeline a little bit, again by holding down Alt Option and scrolling down on the mouse wheel. And let's drag and drop this clip onto the timeline. And it's pretty chunky. Now, it's not 2 hours long, otherwise this file would be humongous to download, but it is pretty long. And let's say out of this clip, I only really wanted a small snippet. Now, rather than just dropping it onto my timeline, trying to find the points that I want and trimming it in, let's delete it from the timeline again, and let's use the source monitor to pre-select the pieces that we want and only drop those pieces onto our timeline. In order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to redock this bin right here. And for that, remember, you can just click onto the title and then you can kind of snap that back in place. And I'm actually going to place it right back here in my project panel, right in the center. Let go. It's going to snap it back in place there, just so it's kind of out of the way. So now, rather than dragging and dropping from the project panel onto the timeline, I'm going to double click the clip in my project panel. So let's double click onto this corridor walk.mp4. That's going to pop open this clip in what's called the source monitor. The source monitor is essentially a preview monitor. Let me just make the panel just a little bit bigger. And this is a full video player, and down here you've got playback controls. You've also got a little timeline indicator. And you can now scrub through this and find the start point of the section of this clip that you actually want. So let's say we want to start right here, just before I'm passing these railings for that staircase. I can now set an in point to say this is where I want to start. You can do that below. There's some controls here over on the left hand side, mark in and mark out. Shortcut keys for that is I and O. And Premiere Pro has tons of shortcut keys. Highly recommend you get used to them. They'll make editing so much easier. So let's click mark in. That's going to set a marker down here, and you can see the rest of this clip is highlighted. So I've selected from here everything forward, but I don't want the rest of the clip. I only want a small section. So let's just come forward, or you can just play through this as well if you wanted to. I'm just going to scrub because it's a bit faster, just until I pass those railings. Let's say I only want this section here. I can now set the out point. Again, just click on mark out or press O on your keyboard to mark the out point. And I've now only got this small section highlighted. And now the cool thing is I can click directly into the source monitor and drag it across into my timeline and drop it off. And this small snippet here, this clip that I've dropped onto my timeline is only the clip that I've highlighted in my source monitor. So now I've only got the snippet of this clip where I'm starting right in front of this stairwell, right until I pass it. So I didn't need to drop the entire clip on my timeline. I can really just select the snippet that I actually want. And the cool thing is I can now extract other clips. So let's say at the end here, there's kind of like a short section where I'm kind of going, just parallel to these railings here. And I kind of like that as well. So again, I could mark this as an in and out point. I can also drag these end markers around if I wanted to, but I find that's a little bit less precise. So I prefer just marking this as my in point and coming forward to maybe around about there. Let's mark this as the out point. And again, click and drag directly from the source monitor onto my sequence. Let that go. And if I now play this back, I now have extracted 2 pieces out of this longer clip and only dropped those selected snippets onto my timeline. Let's zoom out a little bit. Now, sometimes you may only want to get the pieces of video or only the sound from a certain clip. At the bottom of the source monitors, you'll find 2 icons. They're very handy. On the left side, there's an icon to say drag video only. On the right side, there's one that says drag audio only. If I click on drag video only and drag from there onto my timeline, you can see now I only have the video layer selected. I can drop that in, and that is only the video part of this highlighted section from the source monitor. I can do the same with the audio, so I can only drag the audio onto my timeline, and I'm only going to get the audio snippet of that clip. The source monitor is a really handy tool, especially if you're working with long video files, so highly recommend that you make use of it. But now, in the next lesson, let's actually start exploring some of these editing tools over on the left-hand side, and let's start at actually putting together our proper first edit.